Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is from Monday, August 12th, all the way through to Sunday, August 18th of 2019. And this week we have a really powerful full moon that's going to be happening in the sign of Aquarius that will come exact on Thursday. But before we get into this culmination point, we're going to have a lot of interesting energy around relationships, around pleasure, beauty, fun, joy, all of these Venusian types of themes, because Venus is going to be coming into a conjunction with the sun. And so at the start of this week, Venus will be what we call combust. It'll be in a conjunction with the sun. It's going to be sort of burned by the rays of the sun, so we might get some difficulty when it comes to connecting and collaborating and forming really good bonds and relationships with people. It can burn up old karma in relationships, but it can also bring up or illuminate difficulties in partnerships, difficulties in commitments and collaborations and contracts with other people. And this includes, friendships, business relationships, but also romantic partnerships. And so a lot of the troubles that maybe we haven't been seeing very clearly can be illuminated, and it can cause disruption or difficulty in our relationships. However, Venus will come into an exact conjunction with the sun on Tuesday in the evening or into the night, depending on where you are, if you're in the United States or maybe a different time frame. I think it would be more in the morning for those who are living like overseas in Europe and other places across the world. So you'll have to check your own time zone to see. But at like midnight, around midnight in my time zone, Mountain Time in Colorado, it would be 11:07 p.m. Pacific, 12:07 a.m. technically on Wednesday in Mountain Time. It'll be overnight throughout most of the United States. There's going to be an exact conjunction, which is called CAZIMI. And so when we have a planet that's CAZIMI, it's thought to be at the throne of the sun. And so it's elevated by the energy of the sun. So it's enhanced in a lot of ways. This is a great time to utilize this energy to help to form stronger connections, to engage in more passion, more romance, to enhance, or to re-enhance and reignite the passions in relationships if that's something that you're looking to do. This is a really great time that could spark a lot of creative potential, and that could spark the need to take action on some sort of creative self-expression on a physical level, because this is going to be happening in the sign of Leo. This is also a really great time for you to become more generous, to share your heart with somebody. And I know that this is difficult, in the middle of the night. It only lasts a couple of hours. But, if you happen to be with your partner, if you happen to have the time and space to do so, this is a great time to connect and to utilize that energy in a very positive way. And that's going to be a part of this full moon energy, because we have the sun in a conjunction with Venus, technically combust at this time, in opposition with the moon, because when we have a full moon, that's always when the sun is in opposition to the moon. And so this represents a challenge between these two energies. It can sometimes represent a literal opposition between what you're doing physically, what your soul wants to express physically, and your emotional comfort zones and what you need on an emotional subjective level. But this is also a coming back into balance between two areas of life. And so usually we start off the month with a lot of energy around where the sun is, because the sun's transiting through that sign and it's illuminating that part of our charts and our lives. And so when we have the full moon energy, it's sort of this expressive energy where a lot of what we've been building toward throughout the month starts to come to a head, come to a culmination point. We start to see it manifest out in the world. It's not necessarily when we're harvesting the fruits of our labors, but we can see where things are headed, and we're preparing for the harvest, right? We're preparing to see the results, or to really get the benefits of the results of our actions. But this is also that coming back into balance. So if we've been too far on one end of the spectrum, it can help us to come back to the other side and to maintain better balance and equilibrium in our lives, wherever it's being affected. And of course, we'll get into that in just a moment in the forecast for all 12 signs. The other energy that's coming exact this week, though, that is definitely worth noting is a Mercury square to Uranus. And so this is sort of a fleeting aspect because Mercury moves very quickly. So we'll be feeling this mostly Thursday through Saturday. It comes exact on Friday, and that's its most intense point. And the people who have a lot of fixed energy in their chart, so if you have a lot of energy in Taurus, if you have a lot in Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, you're going to be feeling this really electric, impulsive, disruptive energy the most. And what this does with Mercury involved, Mercury rules our thought processes, our ideas. It rules our intellectual mind. And so this can bring a lot of really impulsive decision making. It can bring a lot of really exciting flashes of insight, downloads, new inspiration. But we might feel like we need to communicate it or take action on it or make plans immediately. And that can be a little bit difficult because we can end up causing disruption in a negative way if we act too quickly or if we act too forcefully on these impulses. The other thing too is that people are going to be very quick to communicate, and people might be communicating things that are a little bit shocking or outside of the box, unorthodox, because that's the nature of Uranus. And it's interesting that there's so much Uranian energy this week, and that's actually why I decided to do my Mastering Uranus webinar on, over the weekend, because of that full moon in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. It's a lot of very eccentric, unusual energy that's going to be brought to a culmination point. This alternative viewpoint, a way of seeing things that's outside of the norm, that's in your own independent way. And then we have this Uranus square to Mercury, which is kind of a disruptive energy. It's not necessarily a nice energy or something that is considered to be favorable, but at the same time, Mercury and Uranus work really well together because Uranus is thought to be sort of the intelligent mind, and Mercury is thought to be the intelligent mind, and Uranus is thought to be more like the higher mind, innovation, thinking outside the box, right? And so when you combine these two energies, a lot of times people who have this in their birth chart, they're like geniuses, but they're so ahead of their time that people view them as being strange or eccentric, and they have this way of communicating that can be very blunt and very shocking. And so that's a lot of the energy that we're going to be getting this week, is this shocking information. People might be delivering messages or communicating with us in a way that's very disruptive to our current paradigm and causes a lot of unrest. And so you might see even in the media a lot of really unusual information that is completely disruptive to our mindset about things. You might see a lot of fighting or a lot of, something that tends to happen around these times in like the news cycles is that somebody will put something out there prematurely before they have all of the information, and then they'll have to retract it and take it back because they're really excited about it. And it's something usually very unusual or very shocking. And then it's like, oh, I didn't have the full picture. I didn't have the full story. And that's something to take care to avoid in your own life. So be careful to make sure that you're responding to people's inquiries or responding to the information that you are receiving rather than reacting to it, because people might become more impulsive and more reactionary. And make sure that you have the full picture and that you have things really thought through before you impulsively communicate something important to somebody, because that's going to be part of the energy as well. And so that's really what's going on this week. We also have Mars moving into the sign of Virgo, which can be a little bit challenging when Mars is in Virgo. Mars in Virgo can be aggressively perfectionistic sometimes, so people might be a little bit harder on themselves and harder on other people throughout the next few weeks when we have Mars transiting through the sign of Virgo. And I wrote a little bit more about this in my upcoming weekly Astro-Highlights newsletter. And so if you don't already have yourself signed up for that, the email list is down below. I send this out every Monday morning. It gives a rundown of who's going to have the most challenging energy for the week, who's going to have the easiest time this week in terms of the signs, and then just a brief rundown of what's going on in terms of the general planetary energy. And so I send that out as a free resource to all of you every Monday morning, and so you can sign up for that down in the description below. And you can also find it on my website if that's the way that you choose to find it, if you don't want to get emails. But anyway, so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. And before we do that, I do have a couple of quick announcements. So as I just mentioned, my Mastering Uranus webinar is going to be live next Saturday, August 17th at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And even if you can't attend live, I highly recommend signing up now because the price will increase. It will actually double after the webinar has taken place. And so right now you can register in advance for only $19. The price will go up to $39 after the 17th. And so if you want to know all about Uranus and how to activate the really rebellious, exciting energy in your chart, where you need to do things in a different way than other people, and give yourself permission to be a little bit strange, and how Uranus will impact you by transit and the cycles of Uranus, we're going to get really deep into everything you need to know about this planetary energy. And so the link to sign up is down in the description below. And this is a part of my Mastering the Outer Planets series. We've already gone through Saturn. We're doing Uranus next week, and we'll be doing Neptune and Pluto. And for those who are signing up, you'll get a free bonus webinar in the spring on Jupiter. It's going to be 16 to 20 hours of just really deep information about all of the outer planets and every way that it could possibly be affecting you. And so if you sign up now before the 17th, it's only $69. After the 17th, the entire series is going up to $99, which is still a really great value because I'm giving a lot of information. It's over the course of several months. We're doing one webinar roughly every 2 months, but you're already going to have Saturn and Uranus to go through, and then Neptune is happening, I believe, on November 17th. You'll have to check my website for that exact date. So anyway, the link to do that is down in the description below. And if you are an Aries through Virgo, your sun sign solar return forecast for the year ahead is now available for immediate download. I've actually changed the way that I'm doing it so you can get it right away, so you don't have to wait 48 hours for me to manually send it or for my assistant to manually send the videos to you. And so that is down in the description below as well. You'll get a 2-hour video with some supplemental materials talking about the most important influences for your sun sign specifically for your solar year ahead. And so that's down in the description below as well. And so that's, I think, enough announcements for today. Let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, and I'm going to be focusing predominantly on the energy of the full moon and a little bit on that Uranus square to Mercury, because that's going to be an interesting energy at the end of this week too. So let's get into this. All right, so for Aries and for Aries rising, the start of this week could bring some really exciting revelations around romance, in particular, around your relationship with romantic partners, around your relationship with children. You can get some really powerful downloads and insights on Tuesday night around creative projects and pursuits, or things that you want to incorporate that bring you joy, that bring you pleasure. That's already been kind of a focus. There's been a lot of Leo energy, and Leo rules your 5th house. And so if you've been dwelling too much in the area of pleasure, of joy, of fun, of spontaneity, of doing the things that you love to do because you love to do it, and focusing on your heart and what your heart wants, I mean, that's really a wonderful thing to do, and that's where the energy has been present. But this is a time where it's important to come back into balance. And the way that you come back into balance with this full moon is by focusing on your friendships, what the group wants, what the group needs, by connecting and networking with people who are like-minded or who maybe are a little bit more open-minded to help you to see things from different vantage points, from different perspectives. Connecting with people who are a little bit outside of the box, outside of the norm, a little bit eccentric. This is a great time for networking events of all kinds, for parties, really Thursday through Saturday, or what it would be. So Wednesday through Friday would be a really great time to collaborate with people, to connect with a group, to go out with your friends, and to connect with that energy of like fun and pleasure and play and go out on the town, but to do so with a group and to connect with that group mind and that group perspective. That's one of the best ways that you can connect with this energy this week, is by really, spending time with friends and spending time with groups. And if you've been wanting to organize a group for something, if you've been wanting to join some sort of group or organization, this could bring the energy and the momentum for you to do that, especially if you want to create an organization around your passions and the things that you love. Now you have the green light to do it. Where there could be a little bit of friction and tension is the area of Uranus and Taurus in your second house of finance, coming into a square with Mercury in Leo in your fifth house. And so you might feel really passionate or amped up about an idea, especially a creative pursuit that might either cost you some money or that you feel like might bring in some money for you. And so you might pull the trigger a little too early and jump the gun on things. You might get these really incredible flashes of insight, but you might not have the ideas fully formed just yet, and so it might be a little disruptive to your financial situation or to your ability to experience joy. And so you want to make sure that you're taking your time and that you are really thinking things through. And I forgot to put up the little symbol up there. So that's Aries that we were just talking about. If you're just joining me now because you saw the symbol, rewind a couple of minutes because you missed your Aries forecast. Sorry about that, you guys. So that Mercury energy, also you might get some sort of shocking, unexpected message from a romantic partner or from something involving finances or spending or money or an unexpected bill that could come in that could be very disruptive to your plans. And so that's, what's coming up for you this week. All right, and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus rising, Venus will be in that CAZIMI position with the sun on, Tuesday night, sorry. So this will be happening on Tuesday night exact. And so this is where you can get some really important insight into how to create better harmony, beauty, equilibrium in your home and within your family structure. This is a great time to reach out, to collaborate, and to connect with family members and with people who are really close to you, or to work on an important project in terms of beautifying your home or your living space. You've probably been focusing a lot more on your roots and what's going on behind the scenes the past couple of weeks. And so now's a time where, yes, you can get some insight, you can come back into harmony and equilibrium in that area of life, but you also need to come back into equilibrium by focusing a little bit more of your energy on what's going on the outside, on your career, your public reputation, on what's going on in the grand scheme of things. And so this is a time where you might come to this culmination point of an important career-related project or work-related goal. You might get some recognition from a group within your workplace that maybe you've been working with or collaborating with. This is a great time to put yourself out there when it comes to your work and when it comes to your achievements in your career, or to put yourself out there, in terms of presenting something to somebody in a position of power and authority. This is a time where you're going to have to work harder and focus more on what's going on outside of the home. And this energy with Mercury in square with Uranus on your ascendant, especially if you are a Taurus rising or sun or moon, with your sun, moon, or rising around that 6th degree in the sign of Taurus. So anywhere, I would say from 3 to 9 degrees will be feeling this the most. You're going to have Mercury coming into that square. And so you might get some really unexpected, disruptive news that could potentially come from a family member or from somebody really close to you, or it could be related to your family or to your home or your living situation. And so taking that time to really come back into balance and equilibrium at the start of this week is going to help you to navigate any disruptive energy that's going to be coming from that area later on in the week and into the weekend. And you might get some really shocking news or a shocking message that sort of rattles your cages and disrupts your sense of self, really. It's going to kind of contradict what you thought you were, what you thought you were doing, who you think that you are out in the world, and it could cause you to have to make changes to your identity or to your direction in life. All right, so for Gemini and Gemini rising, this energy with Venus coming into a conjunction with the sun, the CAZIMI energy on Tuesday night, is coming exact in your 3rd house of communication. And especially if you're a Gemini rising or sun sign or moon sign around that 22nd degree, so really anywhere from 20 to 24 degrees will be feeling this the most. You're going to have a really nice sextile between Venus and the sun and your sun, moon, or rising sign. And especially if you're a Gemini rising, this will also be in a really nice trine with your descendant. And so this is a very important time to get clear on how to come back into balance in important relationships through communication, through open and honest communication, through negotiation, through compromise, through creating balance and equilibrium by discussing things and hashing things out with somebody else. not just expressing the way that you feel and what you want, but listening and receiving. That reciprocal relationship is going to be very important for you this week in order for you to come back into a state of harmony, balance, and equilibrium, not just in your relationships, but in your mindset and in your day-to-day thought processes, communications, activities. If your mind's been on overdrive, if you've been thinking and planning and plotting a lot, this will help you to sort of release some of that energy and to come back into harmony and to have really good, balanced ideas that help to, that take into account the needs of other people as well as your own needs. The other thing that's happening is, of course, this full moon, which will be happening in your 3rd and in your 9th house. And so if you've been focusing a lot of your attention on day-to-day communications, day-to-day thought processes, the intellectual mind, now's the time to escape by gaining a sense of perspective through exploring different philosophies, different belief systems, by going on some sort of adventure that takes you out of your normal reality so you can change your beliefs or your perspective on life. This is a really great time for travel, or where some sort of travel plans might come to a culmination point and you might be getting ready to take off on a plane somewhere. All of these things are definitely possibilities. This could also be the culmination point of some sort of educational pursuit. Maybe you've been studying for something for quite some time and now it really comes to fruition and you get to utilize that knowledge, or maybe you have an important exam or certification that comes up. This is also... on the same token, if you've been writing or working through planning something, this is a time where you might start to think about publishing it or putting it out there or teaching other people what you've learned in terms of your skills. There's also that energy of Uranus in square with Mercury. For Geminis, I've been telling you guys, this is more subconscious. This is about subconscious forms of rebellion that might express themselves in ways that you might not fully understand in the moment, but it's something that you've been repressing and holding back that might come out. And so it could be that maybe you're studying something unusual, especially unusual forms of spirituality behind closed doors, and you accidentally communicate something and it's very disruptive and shocking to other people, or maybe somebody says something that shocks you and causes you to do something or say something that's a little rebellious, or that's outside of what you normally would do because it's unconventional and it goes against societal norms. So you might find your subconscious realm expressing itself a little impulsively this week. And so that's the energy for Gemini and for Gemini rising. All right, and for Cancer rising. This conjunction between Venus and the Sun is happening in your 2nd house of finance. And so this is a really great time to get clear on an important purchase or how to come back into balance when it comes to your finances. You can have some really great insight about collaborations or business partnerships, or joint partnership or joint finances in partnership, maybe in marriage or in a romantic relationship. If there's issues that have been coming up for you in this area, you can find balance, you can find equilibrium, especially Tuesday night. That's a really great time to hash things out. And if you've been focusing a lot of energy on spending money or on making money this month because you've had the Sun in your 2nd house of finance, now is a time where you're going to come back into balance. You're going to start focusing a little bit more on maybe paying off debts. Maybe there's some sort of culmination point where you've been working to pay something off and you finally pay off that credit card bill. Or maybe it comes to a culmination point where you've been waiting on some sort of finances from an outside source, like an insurance payoff or something like that, and it finally comes in. That would be another expression of this energy. This could also be you focusing a little bit more on your partner's resources and supporting them, as opposed to focusing so much on your own hard work and your own efforts, or maybe they're supporting you a little bit more at the end of this month. This is also where an important investment could come to fruition. This is also, on the other end of the spectrum, if you've been feeling a little more materialistic this month, this could be an energy of you coming back into balance by focusing on things that have a little bit more meaning, by going a little bit deeper. And then in terms of the disruptive energy with Uranus, there could be a disruptive communication that comes in involving your friends, your social networks, the people you surround yourself with by choice, or a disruptive communication that comes in involving your finances. And so if you've spent the beginning part of the week coming back into balance in this area, you'll be better prepared for whatever comes your way, whatever's thrown your way at the end of this week. All right. And then for Leo and for Leo rising. So first off, this Venus conjunction to the sun. If you are a Leo rising with your sun, moon rising anywhere, let's say, I'll give it a little bit more of an orb here. So anywhere from 19 to 25 degrees in particular, you're going to be feeling this energy this week the most. You're going to have that sun, Venus conjunction, exact near, like on or near your ascendant. And so this energy is going to, it could potentially highlight difficulties in relationships, or where you've come out of balance, where you've been acting outside of who you truly are, acting outside of your authenticity. So it's going to highlight the need to come back into balance in a lot of different ways, especially when it comes to your body, especially when it comes to your health, especially when it comes to your orientation in life or your personality. So this is going to help you to also to become more likable, I would say. Not that Leos are not likable. They're usually very charismatic and fun and optimistic, unless there's something weird going on in their charts. But people are going to be feeling more drawn to you, to the point where it could feel a little overwhelming at the start of the week. But that Tuesday, that's when you can really sort things through and figure out what relationships you want and who's just attaching themselves to you and, maybe isn't good for you. Maybe there are people in your life that are throwing you out of balance. And this is also a month where it's been your birthday. And so you've been very focused on you. It's your time to shine. It's your new beginning. And this is a time where you're going to be coming back into balance by maybe focusing a little bit more of your attention on the needs of others, right? Instead of focusing all of your attention on what you want, what you desire, what your plans are for the year ahead. This is a time where, you might need to focus on the needs of your friends, the needs of your romantic partner or your marriage partner. This could be a time where you need to focus more attention on the needs of people in your business partnerships. It's mostly focusing on other people and what other people want, and taking that into account before you take more action in favor of your own self-interest, right? And so that's part of this energy too. And if your birthday is this week, then happy birthday, Leo. You're going to have a full moon in your solar return chart. And so this is a year of culmination. This is a year where a lot of what you've been building toward is going to start to express itself physically. You're going to have a lot of growth and a lot of physical manifestation this year. And if you want to learn more about that, I do have a 2-hour video all about the year ahead for Leo, sun signs in particular, your sun sign solar return forecast. You can find that down in the description below. And then in terms of that energy with the Uranus square to Mercury, so this is actually happening in your 10th house of career and public status. And so you've probably been making some adjustments on a minor or a major scale to your career path and what it is that you're moving into when it comes to your career and public reputation. And even if you're not working, you could be making changes to your outward presentation of yourself, what you put out there into the world. You might be having a disruptive energy around people and positions of power and authority in your life and wanting to break free from those limitations and restrictions and bonds. A lot of people with Leo rising right now are questioning their career path and wanting to do something more independent. And if that's the case, that's absolutely on target with what's going on here. And you might get an important message or an important download or insight that comes in this week that really disrupts what it is that you think that you're wanting to do with your career. And so you might need to make some changes and make some adjustments and do things a little bit differently than what you might have thought. But definitely make sure that you're sitting with it and that you're thinking things through before you pull the trigger, before you jump in, because you might be doing things a little preemptively or a little impulsively. And this is going to be especially true for those who have Leo sun, moon rising, really anywhere from 3 to 9 degrees. All right, and then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, this full moon energy, so you've been having, so first off, Venus conjunct the sun is occurring in your 12th house, which is the house of rest. It's the house of the subconscious mind. It's the house of dreams. It's the house of past life karma. And so you might have been focusing a lot more of your energy inward for the start of this month, wanting to hide away from the world, wanting to rest, to relax, to spend time coming back into balance by not being so busy out in the world, because you're a Virgo, right? Virgo Virgos tend to be very perfectionistic, very hardworking. They're always doing things. They have a hard time settling down and resting and relaxing. And Virgos tend to get burnt out more easily than some of the other signs. And so you might have been experiencing some of that burnout the past couple of weeks and just wanting to hide away, wanting to rest, wanting to pull back from life. And, you know, the start of this week provides a great opportunity for you to gain some insight into how you can create that balance or incorporate that balance beyond just this time frame, right? So how you can incorporate a better sense of equilibrium by giving yourself more space for contemplation, solitude, meditation, spiritual practice, whatever it is you do to decompress, because that's part of your health as well, right? That's part of your health regimen and health routine. However, this full moon energy is going to pull you back out. So at the end of this week, you might feel like, okay, I've been hiding away, I've been resting, and now I feel really reinvigorated. I need to jump in, I need to start doing new things again. I need to get back out into the world and work. Or it could be that, you know, a health issue comes up or a crisis with somebody else where you need to help, you need to show up in service, or you need to get your ducks in a row when it comes to your physical well-being and physical nutrition, if that's somewhere where you've been slacking a little bit this month. But this is going to be a busy week, especially at the end of the week. Your work might demand more of your attention. Your daily routines might feel busier and more important. And you might be sucked out of that space of solitude and contemplation and back into the world of busyness. Also with, you know, Mars moving into your sign at the end of this week into the weekend, you're going to feel fired up. You're going to feel ready to go. You know, you're going to have that energy and that momentum to start moving forward again. And that's going to be in preparation for your solar return, which is going to be coming up very shortly. Next week, we'll start having, you know, the sun in Virgo. And so if you are a Virgo sun sign, just like I mentioned before, you have your solar return forecast ready to download. It's a 2-hour video. You can find that down in the description below. And so you're kind of preparing. You're in this like incubation phase right now where you're contemplating and looking back at what has gone on for you, you know, over the course of the past year, what has worked well, what hasn't worked well, and what are your plans for the year ahead. And you're going to start feeling a little fired up about those plans coming into the end of this week. And then the other energy that's happening is, of course, that Uranus square to Mercury. Mercury is in your 12th house, and that's the house of the subconscious realm, but it's also the house of secrets, hidden enemies, things that are going on behind closed doors. And so some sort of secret might come to light, or you might get some sort of unexpected insight that changes your perspective on things. And it could come from sort of out of nowhere. It could come from your subconscious mind and bubble up to the surface. Or you might actually get some information from a higher source of knowledge that changes your paradigm, that changes your mindset about God, the universe, the world around you. Or this could be a disruptive energy that's coming through some sort of secret that comes to light, or somebody gossiping or talking behind your back, and it shocks you and it changes your perspective on that person or that situation. And so all of these things are potentials at the end of this week. And then for Libra and for Libra rising. So for you guys, this conjunction between the Sun and Venus is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, groups of people, social networks. And so this is a really great time to gain perspective and to come back into balance and equilibrium when it comes to important group connections in your life. And so there could be something that you're contemplating or wanting to come back into balance with, involving close friendships, involving a group or organization that you've established or that you're a part of. And so now's a time where you can get that perspective, and when you can figure out how to take action in a way that's going to be in favor of not just your own self-interest, but the interest of the group. So taking into account what's best for the greatest good of all concerned. This is also an energy where you've been probably focusing a lot on your social life. You've had the sun transiting through the sign of Leo, a lot of energy in Leo the past few weeks. And you know, now's a time where you might want to come back into balance. You might want to come back into focusing on your passions, your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love to do because you love to do them. And so moving back into that energy of engaging with your passions, engaging with your joy. This is a great week to go out with friends, or to go out on a date with a romantic partner, or to just go out on the town and have fun, or to do something really joyful that you really love to do, especially at the end of this week. So spending time finding your joy, finding your passion, and engaging with that energy. The other thing that's going on, of course, is that Mercury square to Uranus. And so, even though you're spending some time coming back into balance and equilibrium when it comes to the way that you engage with your social networks, at the end of this week, you might have some sort of disruptive communication that comes in from some sort of group or organization that could involve, debt, finances in some sort of way. But it could also just be a disruptive communication that comes through your friendship. And so if you are spending time coming back into balance, connecting with friends, connecting with groups, figuring out how to really, first off, burn away any karma and friendships that are not working for you anymore, but also to, create a better, more harmonious relationship with your friends, then it's not going to be quite as disruptive when this communication or information potentially comes in later on in the week. All right, and then for Scorpio and Scorpio rising. All right, so this Venus conjunction to the Sun is occurring in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. And so, this is so with Venus coming into this conjunction, you might have some problems with some work-related relationships that you need to sort through. This can bring problematic energy and disruption or disharmony in relationships, or it can bring it to light when it's already there. And so this is something that might become very prominent at the start of this week. I need to come back into balance. I need to take into account the needs of others before taking action in favor of your own status, your own public reputation. And you can really ponder and figure out how to make this a reality and how to have a better outward expression of energy that is more harmonious and that people are more drawn to in a way that is going to be a little bit more just well received by people in positions of power and authority or by the public at large. And so this is a really great time to think about your public image and the way that you present yourself outwardly. If you have a business, this is a time to think about your branding and your marketing and the way that you're presenting yourself out into the world. Even if you don't have a business and you're working for somebody else, thinking about the way that you're presenting yourself to your bosses, to your employers, or to your employees. This is all something that you can really ponder and think about. And on Tuesday, you can come up with some really great ideas in order to not only become more well received, but to really take into account the needs of other people in all of the actions that you're taking for your work, and to come back into balance between your work and life, because that's really what's happening as well. You have this energy here with, the moon in the sign of Scorpio at 22 degrees in your 4th house of the home and family. And so you've probably been focusing a lot of your energy on your career, on your work, on what it is that you're putting out there. And this is a time where you can come back into balance by turning inward, by focusing on your family and your immediate environment and your roots and what you really want to come home to after work. It's thinking about that work-life balance and really coming back into balance between those two areas by focusing some more attention on your home, focusing on your family, or this could be a culmination point of some sort of project that you started involving your home, your place of living, or your connections with your family, or maybe digging into your ancestral lineage in some way. And so all of these things are a possibility, especially if you are a Scorpio, sun, moon, rising, with your sun, moon, or rising sign around that 22nd degree. So anywhere from, let's say, 20 to 24 degrees, you'll be feeling this the most. This is going to be squaring your ascendant and descendant. And so this could also be a very disruptive energy that could challenge the way that you're presenting yourself out in the world, your path in life, your self-image in a lot of different ways. This could also bring challenges and difficulties in relationships, especially family relationships and work-related partnerships. And for those who have sun, moon, rising, in Scorpio, between that, what was I saying for that other one? 3 and 9 degrees, sorry. You're going to have Uranus on your descendant, which is just freshly stationed, making a square with Mercury. And so you could get some sort of disruptive communication that could change an important agreement related to business, an important negotiation, an important contract, an important relationship related to business. And this new information could be quite disruptive to your current paradigm and the route that you thought you were going when it comes to these important business related partnerships, transactions, collaborations, and agreements. And so if you've been working on coming back into balance, and if you've attained that state of equilibrium, it's not going to be quite as difficult to navigate, because you'll know where that balance is. So that's what's going on for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. All right. And then for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising, this Venus conjunction to the sun is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of adventure. It's the house of learning and education. And so this is a point where you might have been having some sort of difficulty or disruption or imbalance when it comes to your belief systems, your optimism, your sense of perspective, the way that you frame reality. Now's a time where you can really dig deep and contemplate how to connect with the right people and the right situations and the right teachers in order to expand your knowledge, in order to have those adventures that you want to have. You might have a really important connection that comes in this week, a new relationship that helps take you on a new sort of adventure that helps take you maybe on some sort of travel plan. You could have some travel plans with a partner that come up this week. But this is really about you exploring your beliefs and coming back into balance and finding belief systems that are more harmonious and that serve you and the other people in your life, and gaining that sense of perspective by connecting with others. That opposite end of the spectrum with that full moon is causing you to have to take those big overarching belief systems, those religious value systems, those philosophical belief systems, and translate that into something practical and usable, and communicate that with other people in a way that is easily understood. This is a really great time also for you to connect with your community. So any sort of community-oriented project where you're connecting with groups of people in your immediate environment, in your neighborhood, that's going to be really favored throughout this time period. Any intellectual pursuits or educational pursuits might be coming to a culmination point this week or are favorable for you to pursue this week. The other energy is that you have this really disruptive energy in your 6th house of work and daily routines with Uranus sitting there. And this is going to be, Mercury coming into a square with Uranus, Mercury in the 9th house, which again is your belief systems, and Uranus in your 6th house of work and daily routines. There could be a conflict between your integrity, your beliefs, what you feel is right, and what you're being asked to do or called to do in your work. Your work could feel much more restrictive or difficult for you this week, or you might have some difficult communications that come in that are very disruptive and very challenging to the status quo when it comes to your day-to-day work experience. You could even have difficult communications with coworkers that challenge your integrity, that challenge your belief systems, where you might feel like you want to fight for what you believe in, or say something shocking or disruptive to challenge the status quo. But if you do that, the results might not be exactly what you think they are. You might be acting really impulsively, and so you want to make sure that you're taking the time to think things through before you pull the trigger, before you say that thing to your coworker, so as not to cause a negative form of disruption in your life. And then for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, so for you guys, this energy is happening with the Sun conjunct Venus in your 8th house, which is the house of going a little deeper. This is a really great time to form deep, intimate bonds in partnership with other people, or to contemplate ways to further or increase your intimacy in partnership with other people. This is also a really great time to think about how to come back into homeostasis when it comes to any of these 8th house themes involving money. So 8th house, the 8th house represents other people's money. It represents debt. It represents joint finances in marriage. It represents taxes. It represents insurance. It represents inheritance and death benefits and things like that as well. And so if you're dealing with anything in those areas, if you're dealing with financial struggle, if you're dealing with debt, if you're dealing with having to negotiate joint financial endeavors of any kind, and that's been a little bit difficult for you, Tuesday is a time where you can really get some insight into how to create a better balance and how to reach an agreement that benefits all concerned. This is also an energy where maybe you have been focusing on investments and you've been focusing more on your partner's resources. And this is a week where you need to come back into balance by focusing on your own work and working harder for your money, or creating, or maybe this is a culmination point of an investment that you made, or some work you've been doing on some sort of financial project like paying off a debt or something like that. And so maybe the money comes in this week and you finally pay it off. Or maybe the money comes in from an investment this week and you get to have that cash in your account to utilize as you see fit. And so this is really highlighting coming back into balance financially this week. There could be some sort of disruptive energy that comes in, or disruptive communication that comes in, involving joint finances or inheritance, debt, other people's money, at the end of this week. And so you might have thought that you had it all together, you had it all figured out, and then this comes in and rattles things up and shakes things up and causes you to have to change your plans a little bit. And it could be involving some sort of creative pursuit or some sort of business venture, or it could even be a disruptive communication involving your children that causes you to have to change something or make adjustments financially. And so that's part of the energy this week as well. But if you've worked really hard on coming back into balance and you found that state of equilibrium at the start of this week, it won't be quite as disruptive when we get to that Uranus Mercury energy later on in the week. Okay. And then so for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is your full moon. So at the start of this week, you have Venus with the sun in the sign of Leo, which is going to be in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. It's the house of contracts, agreements. It's the house of close friendships or romantic partnerships, marriage partnerships. And so you could have a little bit of a challenge where some sort of challenging energy in relationship is highlighted at the start of this week. But if you sit with it on Tuesday, if you work through it on Tuesday night, you can have some really positive results, and you can really come back into balance and have a greater sense of equilibrium and harmony and beauty in all of your relationships. And so that's something to really sit with and to really contemplate at the start of this week, because you can make a lot of headway and you can really improve your relationships in a very positive, very long-lasting way. The other thing that's happening is that this full moon, of course, is occurring in your first house, right? And so especially if you're an Aquarius sun, moon, rising, around that 22nd degree, so anywhere from 19 to 25 degrees, this is going to be the light on you. So this is the culmination point of something that you've been building toward. You might get some sort of really incredible recognition. The spotlight might be on you. This is a time where anything that you've been working on in favor of your own self-interest might come to fruition. You might start to see some results. This is also a time to come back into balance, because there's been a lot of focus on relationship, on other people's needs, on collaboration and connection with others. And now is the time to come back into balance by focusing on you. The spotlight's on you. It's what you want right now. You've worked on coming back into harmony and equilibrium in your relationships, and part of that is looking at your needs versus the needs of other people and how to balance those two areas of life. And so this is a time where it's okay to be a little bit more selfish. It's okay to focus more on you, because that's what you need this week, and it's something that you might have been neglecting at the start of this month. And then finally, you have the Uranus energy in your 4th house, which is the house of family. It's the house of home, property, and you might get some sort of information that comes in from a partner, from a friend, especially from like a close family connection that could be very disruptive to the status quo when it comes to your family dynamic, when it comes to your home life, when it comes to your living situation. There could be some really jarring communication that comes in from family members, or from maybe even a roommate or somebody that you live with, or your romantic partner, like in marriage, if you live with somebody who you're romantically involved with. And you might have to deal with that shocking, disruptive news or information this week. But again, if you've worked on creating that balance and equilibrium at the start of this week, it might not be quite as disruptive, but you will need to change something. All right. And then finally, for Pisces and for Pisces rising, so you have this Venus conjunction to the sun in your 6th house of health and daily routines. So this is a time where you might be focusing on work-related relationships, or coming back into homeostasis, coming back into balance when it comes to your body, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your daily workout routines or nutritional routines. And if you've been doing something and it hasn't really been working for you, that's really going to be highlighted at the start of this week. If it's creating anything you're doing in your day-to-day life that's creating imbalance in your body or in your just day-to-day experience, that's going to be highlighted at the start of this week. And on Tuesday night, you can get some really powerful insight into how to come back into balance, how to have better health, how to keep your body in a state of homeostasis, how to have a better balance in your day-to-day work routines. And so that could be something that could be coming up for you. Also coming back into balance when it comes to important work-related relationships with your coworkers. That might be highlighted as well. But this is also a time where you've probably been working a lot. There's been a lot of energy in the sign of Leo. So you've probably been quite busy the past couple of weeks for most Pisces rising in particular. Pisces rising people in particular, sorry. And so if that's the case for you, then this full moon brings this culmination point where normally a full moon's a time to like go out and party and there's a lot of action and activity. For you, there's going to be a lot of subconscious action and activity. You might have a hard time sleeping at the end of this week. You might have really vivid, really disruptive dreams. You might feel pulled inward and pulled toward focusing more on your spiritual practices, your spiritual well-being. You might have some sort of spiritual revelation that comes to you this week. And that could be a really important factor in helping you come back into balance between working really hard and resting, because the 6th house is the house where you work and you toil away. It's a difficult house for a lot of people. The 12th house is the house where you go to rest and contemplate and hide away from the world. And so you might be given an opportunity to do that at the end of this week. And especially, on Friday night, instead of wanting to go out and party and do this and that, you might just want to spend time by yourself, and that's okay. And then the other thing that is going on is this Taurus energy, which is in your 3rd house. And so your mindset around things, your beliefs, your ideas, your communication is changing. The way that you think about the world is changing. The way that you communicate is changing. People might start seeing your viewpoints as being more eccentric, a little bit more outside of the box, a little bit more unorthodox or unusual. Over these next few years, but even right now, it's already started. You've started thinking about things in a new way. And this Mercury energy in the 6th house of work, coworkers, daily routines, you might get some sort of disruptive information that changes your mindset around health, around your body, around nutrition, around your workout routines. You might get some disruptive information that changes your mindset around your coworkers, around your work in general. And you might feel like you want to change something really impulsively in that area, or say something really impulsively to your coworkers. And if that is the case, take a breath. Think it through. You probably do need to change something, but you might not need to say it right now or say it in that way. And you can avoid excess disruption by taking that time and taking that space at the end of this week. All right. And so that is my forecast for all 12 signs. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel so you never miss a weekly forecast. And of course, share this with your friends if you feel like they'll benefit from the information about what's going on this week, because that's always my intention, is to provide guidance for what's going on, at least in a general sense, so people can navigate the week, and when crazy stuff comes up, they realize, oh, that's what's happening and this is how I can work with it. So anyway, feel free to share this video and comment below if you have questions, and I will see you guys next week. Bye everyone.